Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. We're coming to you live from day two in Toronto with Consensus 2025 by CoinDesk. Joining me to kick off coverage, we have John Moog, he's president of Ava Labs, and we're here to discuss building the future of finance. It is great to have you with us. It's you, as always, John. Certainly, a lot has changed since we spoke in the past few months. What has evolved? What stands out to you? What are some of the key themes that you're hearing in Consensus?
Well, there's a whole bunch of key themes. Obviously, policy and clear regulation is one of the big ones, and that will help traditional finance companies. Avalanche is well known for bridging the gap between TradFi and call it DeFi, if you will. But it's not just finance, but it's also traditional enterprises
Yes.
and bridging those users and that stuff over to blockchain and crypto. So I'd be remorse if I didn't talk about the story of the day, which is a company called Nexon. It's a publicly traded company in Japan, about 15 billion in market cap, and they have a game called Maple Story. Maple Story's been around. This game's been around for 20 years. It has got about 200 million users. It has $3 billion of gross revenue over that period of time, and they launched an instance on Avalanche, and their token is live now, and instantly that token is close to about 2.5, 3 billion market cap. And the market cap on the Japanese stock exchange in anticipation of this of the company is also up to a $3 billion. So this is a perfect example of the intersection of traditional businesses with Web3 on Avalanche.
Which is interesting because we've been hearing that theme throughout our conversations here on Trade Talks at Consensus, where the ethos of Web3 that we've been talking about for a decade at this point, you're starting to see Web2, whether it's finance or not, start to adopt those properties and integrate it. To your point, it's not just about finance anymore. And this is how you can tell the infrastructure is maturing. The conversations in the past 2 to 3 years of Consensus have certainly matured since we started covering this. And I would say this year in particular, you could just tell by who's being represented here and how they're focusing on infrastructure more
Yep,
than anything
that's
else.
exactly right. So, in other words, said differently, the tech is now ready, especially the Avalanche tech, one of the fastest and most scalable chains out there. But now traditional people are realizing the benefits of deploying on the blockchain. And not everything should be on the blockchain,
Mhm.
but the benefits are huge. So the reason why Nexon and MapleStory did this on Avalanche is because there's a publicly traded company called Roblox. It
Mhm.
is a traditional single server type, closed ecosystem, but they do have ethos of a creator economy, and they have in-game assets. They have the Robux, which is basically Robux, which is another coin internally, but it's a little cumbersome because it's working off of the old rails. So Nexon and Maple Stories, we have this 20-year-old game, 200 million users. If we want to create instances where the creators now can create different scenes and different things and different gameplay, let's do it on a composable Lego-like blockchain open source technology. So therefore, those creators can use those tokens as utility to develop for gas and other purposes. And really, you can only do that on an Avalanche blockchain.
And that's what I was going to ask you. What differentiates Avalanche as a blockchain?
The Avalanche blockchain is a network of networks. So when someone wants to create an application or something, it is like you can have your own app chain. So you can have it customized and purpose for whatever you need. If it's a gaming company, they need high throughput, so they need different specs. If you're a traditional finance company, you need regulation and compliance, so you need to close that, more proof of authority. The flexibility of the architecture, if you want your own blockchain, you do Avalanche L1s, because Avalanche, again, is a network of networks. All of these networks become interoperable, and you can decide whether you want it to be open or closed, like your traditional finance, and you need to gate it because of KYC, AML accreditation, or whatever. But it allows anyone to customize what they need in their apps for the underlying infrastructure.
Yeah. So
It's not a just generalist but it's a bespoke thing that you can get.
So it sounds like to me interoperability and getting a regulatory framework within the US are two big conversations that's happening with
That's right.
Consensus right now, because it's great all these products are being launched and they're thinking about what's next. But until we get that framework and you understand how to operate, that's the catalyst, right? You can launch as many ETFs as you want, but you need that catalyst to achieve this at scale.
That's absolutely right. So the way I think about it, and this is why on Avalanche, there are two areas that are really moving fast. It's the real world assets with the traditional finance. That's where the value is going to come. But gaming is where the consumers are going to come. And we have other games like Gunzilla, which is a, action shooter type game. They also have they raised $100 million to create a triple A game. I mean, they have over 3 million transactions a day on Avalanche and like 15 million addresses over that now that's also launched on Avalanche. So you have consumers coming from gaming and you have the dollar value coming from TradFi and real world
Which
assets.
is interesting because when you look at the demographic as it relates to gaming, or if it's online betting, online sports, they grew up in this online world, and community is a big part of that, right? And
Absolutely.
that's how these newer platforms are being built, and blockchain helps to facilitate that.
I was just meeting with another founder of a gaming company that's been around for a long time.
Um,
It's got like 60 million users, and they're thinking about bringing it over to Avalanche as well. And you're absolutely right. They're experts on building community as well.
yeah. All right, John, appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. And thanks for joining me from Consensus. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.